The Magi follow a star, leading them to Jesus. A dove descends, and a voice from the heavens calls, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." Sort of unusual ways for God to appear for us. And for many of us, I think these stories make us think, well, that sure is nice, but God doesn't do what God did then anymore. Or, well, that's a nice story that maybe didn't really even happen. But either way, I think that these stories sometimes cause us to think, well, what does it have to do with me? But consider this story. 70 young adults were at a week-long orientation event before heading out for a year of service in various locations around the globe. And they were participating in an exercise where most of the group had been tasked with shouting out words of discouragement and abandonment. A few were identified to whisper words of encouragement and reassurance. Though it was just a whisper, the whispers could be heard amidst the shouts, and the whispers stood prominent in the sound, in the voices for those heading out on service. You've got this. I love you. You've got this. You are not alone. I think that's kind of how it works for us in everyday life. The voice of God is not usually a shining star in the sky that has never been seen before, and is not usually a booming voice from the heavens and the clouds parting and a dove coming down. It's usually a quiet whisper, whispering into our lives amidst all of the noise around us. A voice of reassurance, a voice of authentic and compassionate love, a voice that shapes us and forms us to go out into the world to share God's love. All too often, we let those loud, screaming, discouraging voices of the world take over and drown out God's whispers. Those loud, worldly voices that tell us if we just had more money, or were just a little bit skinnier, or had just a few more friends, or were just a little bit more popular, or whatever else it is that you hear the world clamoring to you. And we forget that God is always whispering to us. You've got this. You are loved. You are not alone. If indeed God is always whispering that to us, what might we do to help ourselves listen to God's whispers above the shouts of the world? There's no wrong way that we can go about doing it, but perhaps one of the things we can do is take our star and stick it someplace you'll see it every day. Your bathroom mirror, your dashboard, fold it up and stick it in your wallet so that a point sticks out all the time, whatever you want to do. And it's not even the word, but just seeing the star reminds us that God is guiding us. Perhaps carving out a little time for quiet. In the midst of the loud noises of the world, take a walk without headphones. Pause and do a little yoga or meditation. Maybe put down your phone or the newspaper while you're drinking your morning coffee and stare out the window. These moments where we can allow God's whispers to nudge in and hit us in our gut or our heart or our head. And maybe be intentional about setting aside some space in our week. You made it to church. That's one of those spaces. Maybe making time for a class at the church or someplace else. A way to nurture our faith, to allow God to nudge at us as we're growing. Maybe all of these things, or maybe none of them are what you need, but find a way to allow for God's whispers to get heard. It takes practice, but we can do it. Because God splits the heavens to be among us, not just in the story of Jesus, but us, and repeatedly offers us the reminder that we are loved. This is the voice that sets on us a new beginning each and every day, not just at New Year's. And it's a voice that gives us our worth and calls us to the work of justice in the world, to face down those voices of fear and hate, that same voice that led the Magi away from King Herod at the end of their journey. The voice of God whispering can indeed drown out the loudest shouts of hatred and cruelty around us. So as we start out this new calendar year, may we be paying attention as the Magi did, willing to turn away and go a different route. And may we all be listening as Jesus listened, because you've got this. You are loved. You are not alone. Do you hear that voice? That same voice calls us to gather at this table. Let us listen and gather together. Amen.